Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the YouTube channel where I review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Now let's go, baby. Welcome back to the YouTube channel, everyone. My name is KJ, the host of Great Talk of Entertainment official channel, and this is my spoiler review for the season finale for the new Disney Plus series by Marvel Television Studios, Daredevil Born Again Episode 9 spoiler review, aka the season finale. Again, if you have not seen season 1 of Daredevil Born Again, please go watch this. I highly recommend it to go watch this. This was such an amazing season, and I cannot wait for season 2, which I'll get into it later. But please, so what I need you guys to do, if you guys could, please pause this, and if you could, hit the thumbs up button. That would help this YouTube channel so much. And go watch it. Come back. Let me know how you feel about season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. I would love to hear it. And tell me your Marvel theories in the comments below. So again, this is a spoiler review. Y'all been warned. Now, let's get into it. The season finale continues on from the last event of Daredevil begins. And it begins by showing a flashback of Bullseye after we witness him shooting Daredevil, or Daredevil taking the bullet for Kingpin. But again, we learn that Vanessa visit Bullseye in like a I think it was like a mental institution, and wanted him to take out Foggy, as she influenced him, as she treats him like she's his son. And of course he agrees to do it with that. She gives off that mother's vibe. That's why I bring that up, because this seems like a weakness from him. As you can remember from the Netflix series of Daredevil, it seems like he's a character who meets somebody, and anybody, especially a female, who says nice things, gives him a shot, shows him some type of likeness, he becomes very obsessed with it, and now he becomes very protective of it, like he's gonna, like it's his territory. He's like a dog. And we see that Vanessa Fisk knows this, right? And she's manipulating him, but he goes and agrees to do it, and that's how he got Foggy, because at the end of the day, this Red Hook project going, and Foggy and whoever the person that he was working with to help get this case was gonna just mess it up. That's why Foggy had to go. And I thought that was very interesting too, because what I like about this is you don't know what this woman is up to. I said on the last episode spoiler review for episode 8, I said, like, I feel like there's only 2 ways she can go with this as far as what Marvel would like to do with it. And either she's turning on Kingpin, or this is them just trying to fool everybody so they can't figure out what's the real actual plan, even though it's the Red Hook project. But there's got to be, what is the main thing besides laundering money? You know, there's something else that, you know, you could assume and predict and theorize until season 2 of what are they trying to bring to Hell's Kitchen, to New York, to America, to whatever. You know, what's his plan? What's his ideal goal of these vigilantes? Like, now we know they're in the MCU, so everything would, to me, I feel like it has to be a bigger picture of what he's trying to do, because I can't imagine him. I can imagine him now in the MCU that looks at like the Thunderbolts and be like, I want to take them out. Like this can't be a thing. Like, does Mayor Fisk go for president? You know, General Ross ran for president, and then he got exposed and became the Red Hulk, and everybody saw him. So I know he saw it. Does he shoot for that? I mean, there's so many ways they can go with this because now they don't have a president. He got impeached in the Captain America Brave New World. And so I kind of imagine like this has to be a bigger thing that's going to affect the Marvel characters that we only seen the most in the movies. So that's the only way I can see where they're going with this and why they're doing this route as far as that. And that just shows like this task force that he has, now all the cameras are turning off. The police cameras, they're all turning off. And then it goes back to Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. He's waking up and he just wakes up and saying Karen. And he just reveals how much when he's really not leaning into, but embracing the vigilante life and wanting to be that vigilante Daredevil, put on the suit basically, kind of like Batman in a way, that he becomes obsessed with, what's the crime, how to stop the crime, how to stop somebody, what's the plan, what's he need to do. He's willing to sacrifice his whole body for this. And it's very interesting too because in a way, him saving Mayor Fisk, he lost. He lost. And it's very interesting that he's trying to, try to correct this mistake. He just won't rest in the hospital. And, we can see that the relationship between him and Heather just slowly crumbling, and it does get worse, as I'll explain later on. But then, after that, we see Mayor Fisk, and he's using this situation as an advantage to make him look like a hero, where he can run both sides of the political and as a crime lord or a crime mob boss type. And Mayor Fisk wants Daredevil to be assassinated and basically poisoned, so he sends one of the goons that he usually works with. While he's doing that, we see that Mayor Fisk is going to get rid of the people in his circle who are not aboard with him, and they need to go home. And then it goes back to when Buck gets to the hospital and the power goes out. And it's because there's a riot happening and the people are upset during this blackout. And another thing that happens is Daredevil escapes. Like, he just got out. He knew he was going to get assassinated. And when he gets back, he gets a surprise visit from the one and only Frank Castle, the Punisher. And, I love this because it's like we see Daredevil kind of rusty. He hasn't been doing this vigilante. Like, he made, like, in this season, they made it clear, like, even after She-Hulk, he took a long break from doing this stuff, right? And I'm not saying he can still hear things and, because of his blindness and whatever, but it still shows you that he still hasn't really grasped how to be Daredevil, right? And he, in his heart, he wants to change and be different, but we slowly and surely see him get back to his old ways and some of the bad habits that lead to a lot of the mistakes that he made in the Daredevil show on Netflix. And we're seeing that kind of come back into this character. It's just oozing out. We're seeing the frustration. We're seeing the sadness. We're seeing the passion. We see him just not taking a break, right? And there's that conversation between him and Punisher, and somebody Punisher told him like, "Hey, I'm here to get you out because the task force that's and listens to Kingpin, Mayor Fisk, they're about to blow up Daredevil, shoot him, destroy him." And we see this gun hole shooting, bang bang battle, and the Punisher is not holding back nothing. It's a bloodbath, and we see even Daredevil's getting into it. Like he was ready, but he was struggling, but he didn't. He stopped himself. But to see him just hear Punisher do that vicious, brutality of a murder on these guys, even though they're bad, dirty, crooked cops who are enjoying what they're doing, and they're starting, they're shooting innocent people in the riots as well, right? And it just shows you how much the Punisher just dislikes them. But he helps Daredevil get the information, and we still see Punisher has changed. Like in a way, he has gotten more worse and grittier, darker and grittier. Like he's really not, Andrew Garfield, who played Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, right? If you remember that No Way Home, he told the other Peter Parkers, because it's a multiverse story, right? That at one point he just stopped holding back the punches. Well, the Punisher, he stopped holding back everything. Like he has no filter, he has no conscience. But there were some interesting moments that I thought was interesting, but I hope they don't really dwell on. But I'll get into that later. And so after that, one of the guys, threw a grenade in, but they jumped out of the building, and that's where we get Karen, Daredevil, and Punisher, who have reunited again, and we haven't seen that for a long time, and we finally see it, and it felt good. It was great. It felt like the Netflix version of Daredevil. And Karen had a car, and she was ready to pick him up, take him back to Punisher's place. And they had a really warm moment together between each other. And there seems to be a romance between the two, Punisher and Karen. And then in the next scene, Daniel and Buck talk to the counselors, letting them know that they got some dirt on them. And to help keep those, secrets buried and not exposed to the public, well, they better help pass a bill / a policy, or there's going to be some problems. And this is a project that the Kingpin wants to do, because as he tipped the scales, and he's the reason why there's a rioting, we're seeing like the task force shooting innocent people, even though they're vandalizing the place, but they're putting like vigilante masks. And one of it was the first one you saw, the Easter egg for that was the first Daredevil's first like get up costume as a vigilante, and put it on him. So that was pretty cool. And maybe that's probably the only time we're gonna see that outfit again. I think, to me, Marvel Studios wants to keep Daredevil in the red suit and other suits, but no more of the rookie suits. Iron Man went through it, Spider-Man, of course, and now Daredevil, and of course others. So it's all part of it's a Marvel Studio traditional thing that I always notice. Like they always make sure you're gonna see like their first get up before you see the one outfit everybody wants to see, right? Like that makes sense. So I get that, and I love that part. And then we see Daredevil and Karen start looking back through some old files of Foggy to figure out what happened. What did he miss? And it was the Red Hook. Again, this is a project that the Fist can literally laundry money without being caught, without paying taxes, and do the things. That's why he's rebuilding and putting a new building there and stuff, just for that. That's the whole plot. And if you remember, Punisher kept that walkie-talkie, and he's listening, and now he hears that task force hurting innocent people. He goes out and takes them all on, but unfortunately got overwhelmed and he got captured. And we also see, because if you remember, Kingpin said, hey, I need you to send the people home who are not aboard with this. And the chief of police was one of them. And my God, they destroyed that man. Kingpin literally ripped that man's head off, tore it to pieces. What a bloody scene, because he was going to try to expose Mayor Fisk, and he wasn't having that. And, the woman who is real, close to him during his daily job, she was so scared, but she chose because somebody like Daniel, he's kind of becoming a criminal now. He's been corrupted. And we see like everybody who's locked up, including Punisher and Swordsman. Like, that's weird. And at the end, they're having dinner together because they won. Mayor Fisk, aka the Kingpin, has won. So that was the whole thing. Like, this was pretty much this season 1 that's why it's called Born Again, right? To be born again, you have to. So in a religious way, it's you get baptized and you wash your sins away. If you do reincarnation, right, you're going to become a different version of yourself, or a person, or the idea of how something was portrayed. And so born again really can mean so many things. But basically, whatever way you want to look at it, basically, Daredevil lost, basically. He's been defeated. Now he has to learn from his mistakes and get better at this. Now he has to really do right. He has to do right. We see where the Punisher's going, right? Because at the end, when we get the post-credit scene, it looks like Punisher escapes as he tricks one of the guards to shake his hand, and he cracks that man's whole arm. It was brutal. So I'm assuming he got out. And I hope he gets Swordman's out. Like, he needs to get out. Like, maybe Kate Bishop's mom is worried sick for him. I don't know. But I think it's interesting, because why I bring up Punisher for this is Daredevil, to me, he doesn't want to take somebody's life away. You know what I'm saying? So now I think, to me, like I always said throughout this whole spoiler reviews through each episode, I feel like they're going to do a more comic book accurate with Daredevil and Punisher and other characters. Because, now, like, they're setting up season 2. Like I said, another thing is, and I know I've been saying I'm not a fan of the romance of this stuff. It should have, that could have been shortened and just ended. But obviously Heather has joined Mayor Fisk, and now she's part of his cabinet, which is like a mental health department, right? And he's gonna he pretty much corrupt her because she's pretty much heartbroken, and she's ready to break up with Daredevil. But that's the twist of it. That's the whole reason of Daredevil is gonna lose it all, but he's gonna rise up like the Phoenix. Like the Phoenix rise from the ashes, right? He has imagine Kingpin the fire, and he's burned everything. He has destroyed everything around Daredevil's personal life, and he literally convince a bunch of people in New York to burn New York. So he's literally rising from the ashes. He's gonna be, again, I think they're gonna go more comic book accurate with Daredevil. And I think, again, season 2 of this is going to be the thing that we see that, you know, I think the diehard fans, when we get to season 2, which is in March of next year, I believe, this is where, like, there's been set photos of him in the black suit, all black with, and then his logo with red. Like, again, that's a comic book thing, right? And if you read Daredevil comic books, then you know why that suit is one of his most popular ones that fans like. One, because of the design, and each suit's made differently. It's kind of like Batman has different suits for some type of special occasion, right? This is kind of like his stealth mode, which is even more like a spy. So that's where I get of it. But that's why I'm saying, like, I think this is like the rebirth of the MCU of Daredevil. And that's why I think they said, like, they always said in early productions, like, they were gonna keep that Netflix feel to it, the way they did it on that at the time. But they said this is like a reboot. This is a brand new start, a brand new chapter with all these characters, and they're going to be told in a different way now. And I think what they did was, season 1 was the love letter to the Netflix Daredevil, and season 2 is literally it's going to be completely different attitudes. I'm telling you, they're going to take a lot from the Marvel comic books of these particular characters, especially Daredevil and Punisher. And, I think the inspiration for season 2 comes from those comic books. And from the set photos, I can tell. That's why I think this is, now I'm really understanding why they called it Born Again. Because, again, it's going to be different. A lot different, and it makes it very exciting to see how they're gonna pretty much, again, they're gonna MCU him, Marvel Cinematic Universe, this thing. Like, say your goodbyes. We all enjoyed it. Now it's gonna be a different angle. They're gonna come at this character at a different angle in a more creative way. And it's just going to be amazing. I just know it. So, let's start with that. Let me get with some topics. We'll do the post-credit scene. Like I said earlier, it seems like Punisher has escaped by tricking that guard. And we know that they're getting a Punisher series or a Disney Plus special, but I think it should just be a series. If they're going to, you might as well just do a series. Like, I think this character is much more important than just a special. But again, they could really put him they can do him in the movies, like put him in the Thunderbolts. They can put him in a Deadpool movie. They could put him in the Avengers movie, from Doomsday to Secret Wars. Like, there's always something. I could they do that with him and Spider-Man? I don't know. That's a long shot, so I'd say no for that. But I like where they're going with him too. Again, like, they're this, to me, from the episodes that Punisher has appeared on. They took some stuff from some comic books reference from Punisher comic books. So I see that. Even like this one, like his hairstyle is more, it kind of resembles like how they portray him in the comic books. Just a little. Yes, I know that there's comic books with him with short hair and it's flat, but there's other Punisher comic books where that hairstyle of his is kind of resembles. So it's variants of it, but there I see the inspiration. Even the vest, not just the way he talks now, because again, he's not going to be like the way they portrayed him on Netflix. They did a little bit with him on this, but again, I think in season 2 and this Punisher series or special that they're planning to do with him, they're going to go a much more dark and grittier version of this guy. And I think the idea is, in this episode, he got tied up too, right? And, the guy's like, man, just join us. We idolize you. But he, in his own way, he told him no. And of course, that's when he got, locked away. But could you just imagine him putting on the comic book accurate Daredevil suit, or not Daredevil, but Punisher suit? It's like a full body suit with the skull, kind of like a light grayish blue in a way. Like, they could do that because they want to be different, or maybe one of his other outfits that he'd wear in the comic books. I think that's where they're going to go with him. But they could do that with some of those outfits and be what they have shown, the grittiness with him on this episode as well. Like, he's still crazy, and he still looks like crap, and he gets beat up badly. But I think they got something, and I think I trust where they're gonna go with this character. But I think again, like, they're gonna have a different take on him though. And I think they figured it out, and I'm really excited about this. So I definitely like that. And that's when I feel about Bullseye. Like, he's free. I think now, too, when we get to season 2, he's going to have that classic outfit that Bullseye is known to wear in comic books, too. And I think they're just going to go with it. It's a superhero movie. Like, just do superhero things, right? So that means the supervillains, the bad guys, the anti-heroes, let them have their costumes. They don't need to be wearing leather jackets and jeans. Like, let them wear their suits if that's the right particular character. Like, just give us that. And I think they are, really, honestly. And I'm really excited. And then they showed us Angela, and I'm telling you, I think she's going to be in season 2 as the White Tiger, and I can't wait to see more. And I bet you too, because I'll say this now, I think when they get to season 2, right, I think there's going to be a huge year gap, maybe a 5-year gap, or a 4-year. Or whatever. Like, there's going to be maybe a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year gap. And I think she's going to be a little bit older. Maybe like young adult. Maybe, I don't think they keep her as a teenager. But they could. But I think she's gonna look older, or she's going to be like 18, 20. Something like that, I can see. And I think that's when we see her put on the suit. Now, let's talk about the two movies that take place in New York, I feel like. Let's start with the Thunderbolts, because that comes out in May. Now, I know that not all the scenes of their adventure, of the plot of that story, just based off the trailers, it doesn't look like they stay in New York, but they do have a battle. And now, if you remember, Mayor Fisk has put martial law on New York. There's a curfew, 8 o'clock p.m., you got to be in. So how does that affect what the Thunderbolts do in New York, right? And so I have to believe that, one, Mayor Fix is just the mayor. The government, there's other government jobs that are way higher than that level. and they don't have to follow his rules or whatever. And that's why I think the Kingpin, Mayor Fisk, has a bigger plans than they're sharing with us. And I think in season 2, I hope they just dive into more of his villain side and lessen on his romance side too as well. Because whatever happens in Thunderbolts, right? Even one scene just takes place in New York. It has to make sense. And how can they just ignore what happened in New York, right? With this. Like, I get it. The Avengers are gone. Spider-Man's running wild. Thanos is still a thing. I get it. The effect, right? But how do they answer this in Thunderbolts? And I think it's going to be an easier process for them to do that. Now the next one is Spider-Man 4. That one's going to be tough because I'm concerned that everything that just happened on this episode 9 of Daredevil Born Again, if Sony does not agree with the script for Spider-Man 4, they don't want to do it. And the challenge is Spider-Man's going to do some stuff in New York. But shit went down in New York with Daredevil on this particular episode. And I don't know if they're going to I don't think Sony and Marvel Studios, and I'm thinking about Kevin Feige when I say this, I don't think they're going to find that happy medium agreement to mention what happened in Daredevil Born Again in a Sony film on a Marvel character, Spider-Man, right? That's the one I just don't have faith in that. And I don't think they're going to find that happy medium as far as how that can be referenced. Because, again, Sony owns the property of Spider-Man. So it's yes or no. So this script is going to be very confusing at times. I just can imagine it. And there's no trailers to the Spider-Man 4 film. So, Fantastic Four, the reason why I don't bring them up because they're in a different multiverse. So this is like a space adventure. So why would the Punisher even know who the Fantastic Four is and how they got in this situation? Like, I'm sure he heard of them and he knows they're gone, don't know where they're at, but he's not thinking about them 24 hours a day, right? None of the Marvel characters throughout all the cinematic universe don't think about it. Doctor Strange knew of them, but he's like, wait, are you guys like a band like the Beatles? One of those comments. But with Thunderbolts and Spider-Man, again, I think Thunderbolts, it's a Marvel studio. They can do that, but the Spider-Man one is going to be difficult. And I think a lot of people obviously are going to complain, and there is going to be a really confusion in it. If somebody watched this series and then go and watch Spider-Man 4, they're going to be like, wait a second. How is Spider-Man doing this and this at that time if there's martial law in New York, right? That's the main thing is there's martial law by Mayor Fisk. So how does Spider-Man get around this? How does Sony and Marvel Studios, and I'm thinking of Kevin Feige when I say Marvel Studios, how did he get creative and convince Sony, hey, here's an idea, I think we should go this way, but I need this and that, right? It's a creative challenge, but I'm curious, do they just ignore it? Because if they ignore it, I think that's the worst idea, to just ignore it, because this is the cinematic universe, and this is the MCU Spider-Man, so we kind of need it. So it's going to be interesting. I don't know what they would do, but that one I just have doubt for. I have a lot of doubt, and it's a shame because, again, season 1 was a really good season. This is a really good show, and I highly recommend anybody to watch it. I'd tell anybody just to watch this. Don't watch as a show, just as a show, I would highly recommend people to give this show a chance to watch. I would tell my close friends and families that, like I would, like I think I this was really well done, and I love the plot of it, and I love the actors and actresses. I think they all did a great job performance, and they all did well. I mean, it was really good. I loved it. This is, if I had to give it a 10 out of 10, I'm going to give it a 10. I mean, this was a banger. This was a banger. This felt like a superhero movie. It felt like a Marvel Comics thing, like, and I loved everything about it. So, again, that's why, I'm bringing up the next challenge is obviously season 2, right? Like, see, I know season 2 probably we're gonna at least get Luke Cage or Jessica Jones or Iron Fist. I don't think we're gonna get them all in one shot, but I think we're gonna at least get one or two. You know, if it can all work out and it makes sense, right? Because if they're doing the Punisher series, they can kind of reintroduce those characters in that series or special, if needed, right? Like if that's an idea of it. But that's what it's gonna be sad because this is well done, and whatever happens next in these movies, the Marvel movies, if they ignore it, it's gonna ruin the value of this show, and that's the challenge for them. But other than that, it was so great. I loved it, and I honestly, the way they went this way, I think they should really try to do that same format in a way with a lot of the movies, the Marvel studio movies. Like, okay, not talking about Thunderbolts, not talking about the Avengers, but if they're gonna do, like, let's say Blade, right? They should look at this format, right, and say, okay, look how this was done. Like, how can we do this in a movie but with vampires, right? And look how they did the things, like, instead of wasting a filler up episode, as the cool kids like to call it, they went a different angle at it and used it to use certain Marvel reference, and they had one cameo was his Miss Marvel's father, and it made sense. They had their moment, It wasn't Spider-Man, no, it wasn't Hawkeye, no, it wasn't Thor or Star-Lord, nothing like that. It was just Ms. Marvel's father. But that's all it needed. And if they go this route more, I think more people will love the Marvel MCU cinematic universe even more and be more of a fan of it. So, because this was like really put well together, and I mean, it was an amazing show. Like, I don't think there is a bad episode. There's episodes that are better than the other, of course, yeah. But this is in my top 5 for of films and shows this year. Like, for this year of 2025, like, this is pretty close up there. Like, I honestly. Ooh, I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate, but I like this more than Captain America and Brave New World. I really do, and I know a lot of people are gonna get mad about it, but that's just my opinion. This was so good, and the drama was well done. Like, there was, like, again, like, they had enough episodes to see Daredevil just be out of the suit, say, hello, my name is Matt Murdock, and I'm a lawyer, and win court cases, lose court cases, do lawyer stuff, to win and convince the jury guilty or not guilty, whatever it needed to be. Like, they did it so well and put together. And then we also, again, even though I'm not a fan of the romance in this, but it was put together, and it does really make sense to me. It does make sense. I that's why I'm just saying, like, they could have just shortened it a little bit with the romance. But again, it makes sense. It fit well. It wasn't like out of place at times, but not that noticeable that I would care like that. No, no, but I'm just not a fan of it. Just because they should just focus on these characters, like, it's good guy versus bad guy. Like, just focus on that. But again, it's such a well plot. The whole season one was well done, and I actually enjoyed it, and it was so good. Season two. I'm not saying season two is gonna be better than it. Just probably won't live up to season one. So I hope it's pretty decent as season one for sure. But that's my review, y'all. Again, this is a 10 out of 10. Banger on bangers on bangers. Like, really good. But again, guys, thank you so much for listening to my spoiler review. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Subscribe, hit that notification button so you can always be updated with all my latest content. Thank you, guys, and peace out.